Hey, so thanks for coming again to our little scene deconstruction conversation about screenwriting and all things cinema with me, Colin Bressler, and that's the amazing, incredible, great screenwriter, Josh Kaza, who also helped out on script supervisor, was the AD. He also helped put up lights and stuff. So technically, he was the gaffer at times. The dude did everything on the movie and saved my life, to be quite frank. Just be straight up. Josh, what's up, brother?
How you doing, Colin?
So today, Josh, we are going to talk about. You and I went back and forth. It's a short scene, like 2.5 minutes or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's just the Remy comes home after kind of a long day of doing different things, and goes and sees his mother. So if you want to do the setup and tell us about the scene.
Okay. Well, like where to start, right? There's like
Yeah.
so much to discuss. Um, so I want to jump into like the bedroom scene and where like she's laying in the bed, she's talking about like this, yin and yang thing, like the good and evil, right? And you get like that clip of like the book itself for like a brief moment, and like it catches your eye. It tells the viewer like, okay, so is she using this book for that particular purpose, you know? And like the lighting and all that stuff, it gives it off the creepy vibe. And so Remy just like sits on the edge of her bed, just like, listening with utmost intent. And he throws in like a curveball at his mom, right? So what happened to dad, right? And she just like, don't talk about him. I don't want to hear his name, right? And that gives even more background for Remy and his mother. Like, okay, so what happened to his dad? It gives the anticipation. Did that so-called spirit or whatever actually committed the deed and like, right? And so he's filled with like not only remorse but just like, I want to know. I want to know what happened to him. And he gets denied that. And I don't know if you notice, like if he when he stands up, he has like a hesitation moment, like where he looks at her and just like, walks away. It's like shucks, man, I almost got it out of her. And that scene also defines his mom just as well as it does for Remy, because it gives her own persona, like her background in a way, and her love and feel fulfillment actually with the dark world and the dark arts, like her passion with witchcraft and stuff, which it kind of like goes for the brief moment with the book, you know. And I feel that all that is accomplished in that particular scene because it defines both characters.
Absolutely, 100%. I think I think it's around 20 something minutes in. I don't know the exact number, but it's around there structurally.
20 to
And like
30.
I said, it's following. You said around 30 minutes,
Yeah, 20 to 30 around there.
and so it's following. This. We've already had a lot of setup, like we said in the last video. That scene's already happened. We're I believe at this point you kind of get a real good sense for Remy, and I also think it's one of the first. It's probably the first time he speaks of his father, if I'm correct. I should know this better, but
Yes.
admittedly, it's been a long time. I've been involved in the project forever. But yeah, I mean, so he's kind of like structurally for me, it's kind of like he comes in. It's the first time we see her in a room, and it's all purple, and then he comes in and to me there's that creep. We've already seen her bathe him, right? So we get there's a sort of a strange deal going on here, a mother bathing her late 30s son, and now like he comes in, he's on the bed. I remember thinking in the writing process that like there's obviously like incest didn't happen and doesn't happen here,
Yeah,
but
no.
there's this almost it's a backdrop of everything happening. Have these two people been so isolated because of their worldview that they're they've engaged in these acts, you know, like as far as Josh and I are concerned, they haven't, but it's a backdrop and it's something culturally for our society. It's like a no-no, you know? And so he sits on the bed with her and like you said, the book hangs over, I believe, the whole movie as this thing that just sort of like ever present in everybody's motivations, really, except for Vera's. No, Vera is the only person without really a motivation that lies around the book. She's actually not that interested, but yeah. So what, like, for that scene, what were you thinking about structurally as a writer? Like, how do you include dad? What sort of, how did you what did you think about mom's reaction? Like all that stuff. Cause there's these two kind of breaks, right?
Right. Well, first off, as I was writing, I wanted to give off the notion to where, okay, so Remy's a mother figure. You know, he wasn't he had no father figure. He was a mama's boy. And as that conversation was escalating, I felt as a writer how to let the viewer know, and challenging enough on the script to write that out. I would say her reaction was a definite into where it's like, okay, so did his father do something bad to her or to him to where it would set her off the rail to act that way, and just to kick her son to the curb. And it gives her like the power, like you know, I'm like mother angel, like I have the world for you, don't worry about the outside, you know, stay inside the box, not outside the box. And as she kept talking and responding to his you know, his remarks and questions about his dad, I feel, as I was putting it on script, was like, okay, so how would she respond to that? How would Remy's reaction be? Would he just like quickly stand up and like go off the rail? Since he, you know, as he said, is late in the movie. I'm sorry, and so you already know his background and you know what he has, and so would I put that in the movie to where it would fit his characteristic with that mental illness, or he would just like calmly accept his mother's, you know, voice of wisdom, right? And which, you know, hypothetically he did, since he's a mama's boy, he wasn't going to talk back to his mom, and that gives that pause moment as he was standing. It's like, oh man, as I said earlier, like he wanted to, you know, get it out of her one way or another, but yet at the same time he didn't want to disrespect her because she has the dominance in that family. Granted, it's just, you know, her and her son Remy, but that in that scene, I felt I wanted to control Remy to be like the underdog, like don't talk back, you know, or else she'll punish me with a book, for instance, right? She'll conjure up something. So all that was going to be in the back of his mind. So when he did that pause and he just continued walking, I felt like, okay, so that gives the viewer like, oh man, so more, you know, anticipation to see what's going to happen next and later in the movie. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and it also like you know, obviously stories are about change and confrontation and things that are happening, right? And so in this story, he has a certain, like you said, dominating relationship. His mom dominates him, right? And I thought that, like, for me, like that in the writing process when we were putting in this scene, and it's like, okay, so he knows that it's a no-no to ask about that. For me, it was such a character moment because he's kind of like, he dipped his foot into the waters, but he got his foot bitten off, and he was like, oh, you know, and so he backs out. But I love what you're talking about, that, and it's also acting, right? In that Jason Scarborough, like, was very, really understood this character, and he brought those elements of like the looks, and then also that I'm pretty sure that that he came up with that idea of that sort of the stop and the look back,
Yeah.
or that kind of stuff, so it's like there's that symbiotic relationship happening between the actor, the script, the director, everything going on. And so I think that like that, I really like this scene because I think it shows that sort of early stage of Remy sort of starting to come out of his,
His shell.
um, yeah, exactly. And he's developing, like he's starting to sort of question a lot of stuff. He's already met Vera, who becomes a very influential person in his life. But for him to have the gall to ask about that is even a big deal. And of
Yeah.
course, he gets shot down and he moves on. But it's like in that question, that's why his mom's just kind of like, what the, like, are you
Yeah.
serious? It's like I think, and it's also the other thing we hadn't talked about yet is that mom is the scene starts out as mom is trying to sort of tell him about all the lessons she's told him over his life. She sort of trying to set him up for a new phase of his life, utilizing the dark arts that she's mastered, right? But he cuts it off by asking about dad. So it's like he kind of destroys that whole like line of questioning. It'd be like somebody going, "Hey man, I want you to teach me how to paint," and you're like doing this whole class on painting, and then you keep interrupting with questions about some other thing, and the person's like, "Are we going to talk about this, or you want to talk about that?" And it's like, so that's part of why we chose that scene. What did you like? What was your process in writing Regan? Like, what were you thinking about with her? What were your inspirations?
Uh, I wanted, as I was doing the outline and the character descriptions, I wanted to portray her as an independent woman, obviously, which Magda Porter did an amazing job. I mean, there was times on set I was like, damn. And how my challenge was how I was going to continue that in the writing process. And I felt that to portray that, I needed to envision an actual um, character and see like visually, and like when she came on set for the first time and I met her, I was like, man, I did a good job. That's how I envisioned her to be, and to continue her, her action, her dialogue, as I stated later on, how I was going to fit her character. Like I don't want it to be like out of character. Like she wouldn't say that, right? And her own dominance into that relationship, like you stated earlier, Colin, like just threw like the curveball, like an incest type of thing in there, but there actually really wasn't. But it was good background because nowadays, like you said, is like it's a no-no, but it gives the viewer like something to like hook on to. It's like, okay, but I'm sure there was something that triggered um, his intense emotion and his denial of of just totally like throwing off the curve, where it's like, I don't want to know, I don't want to hear about the dark arts right now, or the book. I want to know about dad, because obviously, since this scene's already pretty much 30 minutes into it, we see Remy already experiencing the dark arts. And as we're Mildred, I'm sorry, as his mom's just like, you know, containing him to where it's like the water boy vibe, out there bad, in here
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
you know. And so that's what only Remy knows. Everything that his mom has told him in life is he believes it's absolute. Mom was right, and that's always not always the case, right? And when Vera comes in, she's a big influence into his life. And in this scene, it's kind of like, well, maybe it's all right to speak up for myself. And I feel as I was writing it, it was like, okay, this is the proper time for him to like, stand up and be a man in the words, uh, question his mom's motives and stuff, and why she wouldn't actually tell him about the past of his dad and stuff like, what occurred, right? And I felt like we, well, I know I feel I accomplished that, and I'm sure you did too, to where it's like that made the flow of the story even more progressive, to where it's like, okay, so we're gonna find this information later on. Is it gonna be brought up again? The next scene, right? And so that's just filled with such anticipation for the viewer and stuff.
Yeah, I think the scene definitely like sets you in the course of you're going, okay, so this mom's crazy. There's this really strange relationship. This guy Remy seems like he's just in over his head in terms of the mom and his whole life, but he's interested in other things and new things, and it sets you on a course. I mean, it definitely once you know how awkward the ending is, you're definitely like, okay, so this is now going to go into a new direction. Like there's something, there's a turning point coming between this whole him or her or whatever it is. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool scene. I think that the script and everything sort of work together in creating that sort of like overall, you know, kind of creepy, strange experience of these characters, and they're unique characters, and that's what's so fun about it, in making films like this. Um, what part about the film and the process of Remy's Theme are you sort of most proud of in making it and like seeing it come alive as a script to screen?
Well, obviously the script and compared to like a feature film is like totally like heaven and earth. So as I'm writing, it's like, okay, so I'm like role playing it in my head as I write. And all the times and experiences I was on set, I actually got the joy and fulfillment of actually seeing the characters that I wrote on script come to life. And that was like a big big inspiration. It's like, wow, to see like Remy be Remy, to see Regan, Mildred come to life was like amazing, because like some of my scripts are like, like way out there, right? And it's kind of hard to like to see uh, a director just like bring those characters to life. And thank God you were there, right? And so during that process, it was just like, man, I mean, you couldn't help but feel, enjoyment out of it. And the times I was on set, to see them read the dialogue that, like we wrote and stuff, it was like, wow, man. And then giving me feedback, it was just like, all right, hell yeah, I'll take that. Because like sometimes it's like the actors and actresses have their own point of view and they give it back to you. And since I was like the script supervisor, taking that into consideration, and I took it to heart. And so sometimes they would tell me, hey, this dialogue would be better, right? You think that would suit me better as the character? And so I was like, take a step back and I'll think about it. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know what? Go for it. Let's do a take. And when either Jason or Angelita would do one, I'm like, wow, man, very good. Even Aisha and all the actors and actresses had their own points of view and stuff, and that increased my potential, I believe, and I take that in heart to become a better writer, because there were some of these actors and actresses. This ain't their first time. This ain't their first rodeo. They've been in a couple of feature films, and hearing them tell me that and giving me advice was like, hell yeah, I'm taking it. And you know, I'll get off set. I'll take like, you know, my notepad. I'm like, yeah, I gotta write that down, man. So that's my feelings and beliefs on that.
Well, thanks, man. That's amazing, and I just want to say that, well, one, to you, but it's also for people listening. Like, Josh, you were like not just in your brilliant writing, but also on set. You were like so invaluable on every level. I remember I would complain to you about not being like Josh wasn't on every day of shooting, right? And I would like text him in these nasty texts like, "Why can't you come? What's your problem? Quit your job, get a job that you can be more available." Josh is like, dude, like, no, I can't. I'm sorry, dude. Like, and I was like that because it meant everything, because the actors trusted you, not just because you wrote it, but because you're a nice guy and you're smart. And then when you were there, it freed me up to focus a little bit more on cinematography and focus a little bit more on directing other things. And I knew
Oh
that
yeah.
the actors were in incredible shape with you. It's like, oh, they can. I remember multiple times looking over at you and looking at you, talking to them. And Josh also had these on at times, and he was running sound, and he was doing script
Oh
supervising, and he was doing slate. It's like that's. But that's why I really, other than Ronald Mercado, who was Robin in the movie, who
yeah.
did some crew stuff,
Yep.
mostly later in filming. Other than that, you're looking at the crew. When you watch Remy's Demons, this is the crew on film, right here. These two guys, and so like I'm forever indebted to you for that. And obviously, like I think we wrote a pretty awesome, independent film.
Yes. Yes.
And so one, everyone go watch it. Go check out Remy's Demons. Josh, is there any last words or anything you wanted to share or anything promote?
Yeah, definitely, guys. As y'all, I'm sure y'all are aware of, it's on Amazon, and it finally got on Amazon Prime Video. Best Buy online is there as well. Y'all should definitely check out Remy's Demons. And I actually want to backtrack a little bit to the notion to where, as I was on set too, Colin, since we were talking about a little past history there, I remember at some times where it was like me and you would like kind of bump heads a little bit, and it's like, nah, man, you know, this direction would be a lot better, or this take would be better, and then this shot would be like it will make it curve into it better. And learning all that stuff from you actually gave me more insight to how I write. It's like, okay, when I, do the scene heading, right, and then you have to start off with action, obviously, and I would think almost I would put myself in your shoes. It's like, okay, so how is he gonna, what camera angle is he gonna flow through? How's he gonna do it? And so I just want to throw out to you.
Do you think, is that helpful for you, for a writer? Like, I write, but obviously my job is cinematography, right? So like I can't disconnect the two. But for you, is it talk about that real quick? Like, just like, is it?
Oh yeah. Uh, like when I'm writing, there's so many like ways to write. Like slug lines, for instance. It's like, okay, is that what a director needs, or is that how is he going to help him in that scene? I know there was one time where you told me, I want to know where the character's going, right? Okay, so he's gonna, leave the house. And he's gonna go down in the hallway, right? Okay, so how? You know, you got the POV, which is the point of view of the character, and you have the character cues. You have like the personal direction and all that stuff. And so sometimes I have to take a step back as a writer and put myself into a film director's shoes. You know, not only it going through my mind as I'm writing it, but like how is it gonna look behind the camera? Is it gonna like match what's on the script? You know, and a while back you told me that's actually helpful for a director because then because then you don't have to like take out your time and be like, hey, so is this going to be this and this? I don't have to question you, whatever. Um, so yeah, I would say definitely it is positively extremely helpful to actually know those things, and it made me a better writer knowing those directions to take to help um, the director and help all the actors and actresses and stuff, because then they will know what to do on the scene and what not to do, you know. So yeah, definitely, man.
So when you're holding your, this is in place of your Academy Award, but when you're holding your Academy Award for one of your other scripts, I just want one shout out in your speech. You know, something like, I don't know, I'm going to give you, I'll script it for you. It's like, just want to also take a. He didn't work on this movie. He had nothing to do with this movie, but I used to work with this guy, Colin Bressler. I think he's like homeless or he works at Target or something, but you know, I just no, but on for real, man, you are. I have no doubt. I have no doubt that not the depiction I just made, but that I will. I will be. I will be absolutely. Yeah, I know exactly. The Academy Award remote. I do have no doubt that I'll be watching Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime, or in a new movie theater and be like, "There's Josh's name, my man. I knew it." So, dude, thank you so much. Josh and I have, we're working on some projects together. Josh has multiple insanely awesome scripts that he mentioned in our last video. Check him out. He's on Facebook and other places, but you're going to know his name. So if you watch this video, you're going to be like, when he becomes big time, you're going to be like, I watched him before he was big time. I watched him. So, Josh, brother, thank you so much. And check out the film on Remy's Theme. Check out the film on Remy's Theme. No, check out the film on Amazon Prime and let us know what you think by either of us on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, whatever. Just let us know because it helps us become better at what we do, as we said. You know, I mean, whether it's, I didn't like the dialogue or I didn't like the look of it, all these things like matter because they make us rethink and develop. So, and maybe we'll do more of these. So anyway, Josh, you're the man. We're going to wrap this up. Have a good rest of your day and I will talk to you soon.